Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ. We are talking Heisman risers and fallers after their massive win against Georgia. We have a new favorite right now, and Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe is sitting there at plus 200. He jumped Cam Ward, who was the favorite, followed by Travis Hunter, and then Ashton Genty. Did someone from Boise State go ahead and win the Heisman? We'll talk about that here in a second. Let's welcome in Danny Kanell. So Jalen Milroe, we were just talking, you said he's got to be the front runner right now. But this thing is far from over.
Oh, absolutely. We have a lot of football left to be played. I will say this. I don't think you can win the award in September. I know we're in October now. You can't win the award in September, but I do think you can lose it. And that's where I think you've seen some guys potentially fall out of the race, and some of them we're going to discuss today. But you can position yourself. That's really what it's about. You want to position yourself where you're at the top of this leaderboard. Because once we get to this point in the season, Amanda, we don't really see many long shots come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like if you're just kind of, it's like a golf, like a leaderboard. You just want to be positioned, and then, moving day is probably going to be this month when it's, somebody's going to, there's a lot more, there's better games, there's bigger stages, you get the opportunities. And then, on the final closing day, Sunday, golf would be November. And that's where you see guys either win or lose the trophy. So it's all about positioning yourself right now.
So what about Jalen Milroe? Obviously, that game against Georgia did put him in that position. I don't know if you would call that game a Heisman moment for him. What are the chances he could continue this and win?
Oh, I absolutely think that was a Heisman moment. And I think it's easy to forget that he played outstanding on the road at Wisconsin and against the Badgers. He had another phenomenal game there. But with the national stage, a primetime game, and a game that I actually think the thing that helped Jalen Milroe in this game was the fact that Georgia came back. Because I know a lot of people, and probably Heisman voters, thought about turning off the game, turning away, saying, now this is going to be a blowout. It makes it look almost too easy. But the 75-yard touchdown pass to Ryan Williams to bring them back was that Heisman moment. You could make an argument that maybe that was more about Ryan Williams, because that dude is pretty special. But we know it's most of the time the quarterback-driven award. That was really the Heisman moment for Jalen Milroe.
So Jalen Milroe certainly a riser. The other side of that Bama-Georgia game, Carson Beck, brings us to a faller coming off of 3 interceptions in that matchup, Danny.
Yeah, Jacqueline, I thought that was one that we're talking about losing the Heisman Trophy. I think he took a significant drop. It's going to be hard to overcome the optics of what we saw in that first half when he did have the interceptions and he did struggle and he looked like he was overwhelmed. You do have to give him credit for fighting his way back in and for finishing with over 400 yards. And at the end of the season, if they're 11-1 and this is their only blemish, I don't think this will prevent him from winning it. But now I have concerns about Georgia. They still have to play Texas on the road. They still have to play Ole Miss. They still have to play Tennessee. Their schedule, I think, is an absolute gauntlet. And one of the things you do have to be is pretty clean in those big games. I think he can bounce back, but I wouldn't waste my money taking a flyer on Carson Beck. I don't think he's going to win the award.
What about Cam Ward out of Miami? He was the favorite. Obviously, Jalen Milroe jumped him. Look, that was a huge game. However, going up against Virginia Tech, he had his Heisman moment. Do we need to see more of them from him?
Yes, I think so. He's been spectacular. I mean, against Florida, sorry, Jacqueline, but I mean, I don't know if that even matters anymore. Well, the other thing that stinks is he still has Florida State, which was supposed to be a potential Heisman game. Like, that's
definitely
not going to matter, right? Like, that's not going to be. I think that's the thing I'm worried about Cam Ward. Their schedule, they don't have too many marquee games left. They still play Louisville, who just lost. They were in the top 25, but they just lost. They still play Florida State. And the ACC is just down. This weekend at Cal, like, is that a game that's going to resonate? So I think Cam Ward's recipe for him winning the Heisman is running the table, being perfect, and putting yourself statistically at the top, which he should be. And then in an ACC championship game against most likely Clemson, if he balls out in that game, that's where I think he could potentially win the award.
Let's get to the non-quarterback guy that's in this conversation. We're talking about Travis Hunter, of course. And Danny, a couple weeks ago, there was this huge conversation like, hey, is he maybe being disrespected by Heisman voters in that conversation because he's not playing for a Bama or a Georgia or a Miami. But at this point, huge riser. He's now at plus 600. How good does Colorado have to be for him to continue to be in this conversation? I mean, he plays like 1 million snaps, never takes a break.
It is unbelievable, Jack. And I think what you have to do is you have to do something we've never seen before, right? I know we're going to talk about Ashton Genty Genty. We'll hit on that with him. But we have not seen in the last 30 or 40 years, maybe 50 years, since a player has played as much as Travis Hunter has. Meaningful snaps where he is the best receiver on the team, and he's playing almost every single snap, and he's the best receiver, and he's catching a ton of meaningful balls. Like, this is not you're dialing up a specific package for Travis Hunter. He is one of their best receivers. So that's where I think it's special. To your question, how many games does he have to win? I think 8 is the magic number. I don't think it should matter, because if we're talking about the best player in college football, this award is over. He is the best football player because no one else is doing what he's doing, playing both ways. So I think that debate is settled, but the Heisman is unique. They want to see somebody who contributes to their team. He already had a big game against UCF. I think he has to continue to do that. I think 8 is the magic number. I think voters would have a hard time at 7 and 5 or less. The good news is they're sitting atop the Big 12 standings. It's a very even league, and 8 all of a sudden doesn't seem that far fetched for him to actually get those 8 wins.
Do you know the last group of 5 player to win the Heisman?
Oh, man. I don't.
Or has there ever been one?
I'm sure there. Well, I don't even know. Like, what were the guys at Army and Navy? There were some winners from like
okay,
the
so
academies.
there you go. Roger Staubach was the last guy to do it. So let's go to Boise State here. Ashton Genty. I was looking at an article from somebody who is obviously with the university, and they said nobody's going to win a Heisman from Boise State because they're considered cute and plucky with the Heisman voters here. But could a guy like Ashton Genty buck the trend?
I think he should.
That's a long trend.
I think he should be able to buck the trend. Unfortunately, I do think there is truth that playing at Boise State does hurt you. Again, don't get mad at me, the messenger, but I think he needs help. I think he needs other guys to falter, like a Jalen Milroe, to struggle in an SEC championship, to have Carson Beck struggle down the stretch, maybe to have Cam Ward lose that game against Clemson. But I think what he can do to really to put himself firmly in this conversation, which he already is break Barry Sanders' all-time rushing record, which has stood forever. And if he can get that, it's around 20, I forget the exact number, I think it's 28, 26, like 2,826 yards. It's phenomenal. He's on pace to do that. If he does that, voters will have to take notice. And the other thing they have to be is the group of 5 representative. So they'll have to, for the playoffs, they have to be a playoff team, which they are positioned to do that. They do play UNLV, who's in this mix. If they beat them and if they win out, he also has, and I know they lost, but he had a really good game against Oregon. So if you're a Boise State fan, you should be rooting for Oregon to maybe win the Big Ten and be this powerhouse, but not too good, because then Dylan Gabriel enters the chat. So, like, there's a lot of dynamics that unfold, but I do think Ashton Genty absolutely is in the mix right now.
He needs that, what do you call it? Campaign. He needs a campaign.
Yeah.
A huge campaign.
I put out like a little Heisman list, and I had him at 3rd. And Boise State fans, they are passionate. They were like, wait a second, you're not paying attention to what he's doing. I'm like, I am. And then my clapback is always, what does he do on defense? Because I had Travis Hunter ahead of him.
Gotcha.
But that could take care of itself. If Colorado loses a few more games, then all of a sudden he could vault to the top.
We appreciate it. Danny Kanell.
Always fun.
Cover 3 podcast. How are things going over there?
Phenomenal. Except for my pigs. My locks are awful.
I heard Tom Fornelli, by the way, we're going to talk to him in a second, like actively roots against me, and
He actively roots against you?
Yes.
Yeah,
you soft
Oh my God.
I do. I fully support you, Amanda. You know that.
Find out who else Danny Kanell supports on the Cover 3 podcast. Your home for all things college
I didn't know about
football.
that beef.
Oh, yeah.